All right. Hi, everyone. I am here with Haleigh today. Haleigh, thank you for being here.
Hi.
Awesome. So I'm Brittany Brown, for those of you who don't know me, founder of Beating Binge Eating, and Haleigh is one of our graduates of our program, and she struggled with binge and emotional eating and struggling with her food for about 10 years since like early high school age. And her transformation is so beautiful. Haleigh, you're such a light in the group and supporting others. And I just felt like I watched you just blossom in front of me. And I'm so excited to talk with you because I know everyone's going to learn so much. So yes, watch this whole interview. I'm sure it's going to be filled with all kind of juicy nuggets and wisdom because Haleigh's journey was a really incredible one. And yeah, just thank you to you for sharing your journey so openly and vulnerably in the group and being such an inspiration to everyone. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we'll talk about where you are now in a second, but I'd like to know, like, what did things look like before reaching out to us? Like, before being Binge Eating Blueprint, where were you with your food, your life, your body, all of that?
Yeah, so for me, I definitely know the weight loss and gain yo-yo diet struggle very well. I feel like as long as I can remember, I was someone who was heavier than other people, and I just always obsessed about how I looked and my weight. And as I became an adult and graduated college, I feel like this became more present in my life and my mindset. And so, particularly right before I started, the beginning of the year had started, and, the whole resolution thing, and everyone's got to lose weight for the new year. And this year, I just was over it. Like, I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to do the whole same yearly cycle over and over again. And I knew that inside me, I was ready for something different. I just didn't know how to make the change and or better yet, what tools I needed to make the change. And so whenever I was on Facebook, I actually saw one of the webinars posted for the Binge Eating Blueprint. And I just was like, I don't know about this. I'm not sure. And so I put it off for about a week, and I just sat on it and, everything. And one thing about me is I'm a music therapist, and last year I contracted, so I would have to drive all over North Texas in order to have my sessions at all these different smaller schools. Well, the bad thing about all this driving is you're in your car a lot, and it's really easy to just say, oh, I'm just going to go through a drive-through and I'm just going to go get food. And I
Yeah.
felt like that added to the whole mentality I had that I wasn't worth nourishing myself. I wasn't worth taking care of myself, that I was just, eating whatever was easily accessible. And I just felt like it was in a bad place. And so I remember I drove way out in the middle of nowhere, like about 100 miles from where I live. And I was sitting there in my car eating some fast food thing. And I finally was like, I deserve more than this. Like, I deserve more than feeling this way. I deserve more than this fried piece of food in front of me. And it finally hit me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to the webinar, and I'm just going to take the plunge, and I'm going to talk to Stella and see what this is all about. And it paid off. Like, I was so thankful. The minute I called her and she, just explained everything, I just felt like we clicked. I was like, oh, this is the stuff since January that's been going through my head that I knew I was ready for. I just didn't know how. And I really believe it was fate and it was meant to be, because I was very, very ready for the change.
I love that. And yeah, Stella's so special. I'm glad she left you feeling supported. I think people don't realize that those calls, like, they're not just like a call about our program. It's a call where like, Stella's uncovering what's causing your binging, and giving, like, regardless if you join a program or not, like, giving you that clarity of what the heck has been going on for however long.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's beautiful, Haleigh. I'd love to hear a little more about, like, what things are like now. So everyone has a kind of time reference point. You just graduated within the last couple weeks, right? Within the last, like, 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
and it's been your birthday, which is
Yeah.
awesome. It was my birthday yesterday, so birthday babies on the on the yay. So yeah, what's life like now? How was your birthday? Fill us in.
It was really great. It was wonderful being able to go out to eat and to be able to spend time with friends and family and just be immersed in the experience without obsessing over like, what am I going to eat at the restaurant before I get there, pick it out, look at the calories, look at all of that, worry about, oh, if we order a dessert, like, does that mean my whole day is spiraled out of control? It just was freeing. That morning, I knew that night we were going out to dinner and that I would probably be having, something that had a dessert with it and, that maybe could be fried or whatever. And I wasn't like, well, that's an excuse for the rest of the day for me to just not nourish myself and eat whatever I want. I woke up, I made myself breakfast the way I always do, made myself a nourishing lunch, just carried on my day like I usually would. And the most amazing thing is actually we got a dessert, and when I got it, I ate a few bites of it and I was like, this is too sweet. This isn't even what I want. And after 2 or 3 bites, I was like, I'm done. I can leave the rest. I don't feel guilty about leaving it. I don't feel guilty about eating what I did. It just was nice to be in tune with my body to know that's not really what I want right now. And that's okay. I can, have this at any time. If I want something sweet tomorrow, I can go and get it. It's not a big deal.
I love that. Yeah, I love that you're able to experience such a beautiful day too. So aside, I thought like that's such a good real life example too, because a lot of people can say like I feel free with my food, right? But that's just like such a beautiful example of just having a normal evening with food there that typically was like a high pressure or binge type situation before, or a situation where you feel a lot of guilt. And then you go this time and you don't have that. So yeah, like aside from that experience, how does life look now that you've graduated, now that you've found your freedom? Yeah, like what's shifted for you?
A big thing was my emotions. So I know that at the beginning we talk a lot about restricting, and for me, I felt like my whole life was a binge. I didn't feel like food-wise I was restricting. I felt that every meal, every moment was about food and that I was eating. And so at the beginning, I did have a hard time relating to some of the girls in our group and some of the things I was seeing because I was only applying it to food. And I was thinking, well, I'm not really restricting food. And then about module 3, something like clicked within me. And it made me realize that my emotions, I was majorly just ignoring completely and not feeling them, not coping with them, and just pushing them down and ignoring them. So after I had that huge realization and epiphany, I feel that I'm just so much more in tune with my emotions. And I even now, because it's so new to me, I mean, after 25 years of not feeling something, it's a totally new habit.
Yeah.
But now it's like when things happen, I even kind of have to say out loud, it's okay if I feel this way. Like just the other day, I had something that made me mad, which is an emotion I feel very often. And I actually sat there and I said, you know what? It's okay that I'm mad. Like I don't have to put on a smile and pretend that everything is okay. And I just sat there in that emotion for about 10 minutes and processed and journaled and wrote out why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And afterwards, I felt good. I felt like I could go about my day, that it wasn't going to be bothering me, when before I was a huge emotional eater. Something happened or rocked my world, and that was the end all be all of the day. It was, I was going for the food. So I think the biggest thing for me was just tuning into, it's okay to feel your feelings, and it's okay if you're not happy all the time. That's part of being a human.
I love that. Yeah, just kind of like, I think a lot of people think inner peace is like never being upset or down. And really it's, you're going to have your moments where human life can get a little messy. I find it's more of just being able to keep that centeredness, like through the flowing emotions. And one thing I wanted to highlight for anyone listening, when you talked about the releasing restriction didn't feel like it resonated with you, I think that happens often because a lot of us look at restriction as just food. Like we think like, oh, I'm not physically restricting my meals, I'm binging all day or I'm eating all day. Like, so, but we miss out on the mental and emotional restriction we place on ourselves, like restricting ourselves from feeling, beating ourselves up, that negative inner critic, that voice, I'm going to start over on Monday, I need to eat better, I should do this. So, I think sometimes even if someone's not physically restricting, there's still the whole mental and emotional side, which can lead to the binging, like you had discovered. So yeah, I'm glad that clicked for you. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, that was definitely the big puzzle piece for me, because I know in the past it had been food, but for the past 3 years, it felt like something different. And I guess that's why I didn't feel that I could find the tools to help me out of it, is because I was like, well, I'm not dieting and I'm not restricting my calories. So what's going on? And that's where I just got in this loop. And then finally, whenever the blueprint gave me the tools I needed, it made me realize, oh, there's a whole other side of this that I've been neglecting. And it just opened up this whole new, beautiful world for me.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So just to give maybe like any watchers or listeners, some like tips, what's your biggest tip or tool that really allowed things to work for you?
Yeah. As far as if you're in the program or you're thinking about doing the program, you have to just surrender to the process and do it. I know I said this in the group as my goodbye message, but for me, I realized a lot of my life I have self-sabotaged and I didn't allow myself to go into a process fully. When I talked to Stella on the phone, she told me those exact words. She's like, Haleigh, don't fight it. Haleigh, surrender. She's like, your life will change if you do. And every time I got upset and it's like, I felt like something wasn't working, or that, binge mentality would come in that, why did you eat that or whatever. I just sat there and I remembered, like, I have to surrender to this process. I have had trouble with eating for most of my life. I'm not going to change this all in a day or a moment. And the other thing that I really want to stress to people is know your worth. I mean, that was my whole beginning of everything. When I sat there and looked at the fried piece of food in front of me, it just clicked. And I remember I was crying in my car and I was like, I'm human with all these beautiful ambitions. It's worth so much more than this fried piece of food in front of me. And then when Stella talked to me on the phone, she reinforced my why and why I'm doing it. And, it was because I deserve a better life. And I know that I have a lot to offer this world. And I'm not going to let food hold me back from that. So, if you're thinking about it, just sit down and really think about everything you have to offer to your family, to your world, and to yourself, because it's worth more than the struggle you're going through, and you deserve freedom.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. I think, I think we can get just, in our patterns, right? And really disconnected from our worth and what we deserve, and also what's possible. Like for someone who's been struggling for 10, 15, 20, some people 30 years that we help, some people 40 years, some people more. Someone that's been struggling, it's like you almost can get into this place where you just think that that's how it's going to be, or like you're going to have to fight it forever. Especially with like eating disorder culture, kind of telling people they're going to like be disordered until the end of time, which I don't love. And so I think that's beautiful, because I think freedom is completely possible for anyone, no matter like how far gone they feel, right? So on that note, any words of wisdom for that person who's like scouring the internet because they just binged and they're looking for answers and they just come across our interview or come across some content of ours, or any words of wisdom for them, their journey, anything like that?
This program is life-changing. It's not a scam, because I know there are people out there that are just scared to try it and will come up with excuses. It is true. It is a new way of life. It gives you the tools you need. And I know for me that even in my darkest moments in the past 10 years, that there were moments I knew what I really deserved. And I knew that even when I was depressed and didn't want to get out of bed because of how my life was and how my, binge eating was out of control, there was still a small part of me that was in my head that said, you're worth more than this. And I want you to listen to that little voice. And I want you to really tap into that truth, because we talk about that so much throughout this. And I've really embraced that part of the program, is knowing the truth. In that moment, I don't even have to believe it. I don't even have to do anything to make it happen. But if I can just out loud say it and accept that there is a truth, then I at least feel like I've made a step forward to, have a better life and have a better circumstance and whatever it may be. And so just know that you may be anywhere right now. Like Brittany said, you may be 1 year, you may be 40 years, but I feel that deep down, we all have that power within us to know we're worth more, and you are. And it doesn't matter how long you've struggled, you deserve to take this moment for yourself.
I love that. I love there's bits of wisdom here. I knew it. I called it before the interview. I was like, Haley's interview is going to be such a good one. So this is so good. Okay, so just one question. I know you tried a lot before our program, and I know you tried different things, different diets, all of that. What made this different? Like, what made the process different for you? What do you feel like really had it stick this time?
The moment you said that if you could have this at any time, do you still want it now? That blew my entire mind. I was like, what do you mean I can have this ice cream at any time, Brittany? That's just crazy. And I just had lived in this world where there was good food and bad food. And, it's either you were all or nothing. And then whenever you took those black or white lines and smeared them all together, it took me a while to understand that was a lifestyle that was attainable and livable. And that's something the diet culture out there doesn't teach you. I mean, from someone who has literally done every diet under the sun, who has, lost 100 pounds and who has gained 100 pounds, it doesn't matter about the food. It's not about the food. It's about yourself, and it's about what you're allowing for yourself. And for me, when I took those boundaries and restrictions off that I had ingrained in my brain for so long, I don't even have a word. It was euphoric almost for me. An example is today, actually, I made myself a sandwich for lunch with some fruit, and 2 hours later was like, I'm actually hungry and I want something sweet. And so I had some ice cream, and I had just a small little bowl of it, and I ate it. And after that, I was like, I don't want any more of this. And that's fine, because in that moment I recognized I don't have to eat the whole pint. I can have this at any moment. And knowing that, I don't want any more right now. And I just had never heard that before. And I love that this program allows us to have that kind of freedom with our relationship to food.
Yeah, so good. And I'm so proud of you. You've come such a far way. That's incredible. And just disclaimer to anyone listening, because I know the thoughts that come up when you hear this program allows you to eat anything. And we encourage it. And I think a lot of people have done programs where they are told to release restriction, and the person legit is like, eat hamburgers and fries and pies all day. It doesn't matter. This is how you stop binge eating. And I think that scares people away, because they feel it literally is just, it's another binge, but it's an aware type of binge. And so it's interesting, there's something that happens in the brain, right, when you are allowed to have anything and also very connected to your body. So it's the combination. So there's no more rules. So there's not that rebellion. There's not that food focus. There's not that physiological pull to food. And then you're also connected with yourself and your body. And these beautiful moments happen where you have a piece of pie and don't want any more, or have 2 bites of dessert and are like, oh, like I don't want that. And so I think a lot of people here eat whatever they want, and then they're going to be like, well, that would never be me. That would never be, I could never eat 2 bites of a dessert. But like, it's almost like magic. Like it does happen, right? And I still, years out of I've been free with food for, I don't know, 5 years, like a long time. My weight has not fluctuated more than 2 pounds in 5 years, which is insane. I gained and lost the same 40 or 50. And I still have moments where I'm like at a party, I'm like, don't care at all about the dessert. It's pretty cool. So yeah, just anyone who's listening, it's possible. Like what Haleigh's talking about can happen, even if you have wanted to finish every bag of chips and dessert for your entire life. Like this switch can happen for you too, for sure.
Yeah. And I will say that in the beginning, it was weird. It was everything against that I had been trained from diet culture. And it did take time to build up that trust. It wasn't something that was overnight, but it's like Brittany said, there's the relationship between you and your body, and you begin to get so in sync with it that you know. And like I had mentioned earlier, when I went out for my birthday and had that dessert, in the moment when I started eating it, I did want something sweet. I did want to have that memory and that time with my friends and family. But after eating a couple bites and realizing how sweet it was, my body was like, this isn't what you want. And it was okay in that moment to be like, you know what? This isn't what I want. And it's that kind of freedom and that kind of relationship you have that you just learn to trust yourself. And it's different. I will admit it takes time, but when you get to that place, it's the most freeing and rewarding thing.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I'm so happy for you. So, okay, this has been amazing. Before we wrap up, any last words you want to say, anything you want to add? Or are you feeling pretty complete?
I'm feeling pretty good. Just know that if you're hesitating, it's worth it. It is.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good space. That's a good place to close. Yes, it's a scary leap of faith, right? But it's like taking that bet on yourself, and me and the team will catch you, and the women in the program will catch you. I think the community, like if I'm most proud of anything, it's the clients that we attract. I just feel like there's this like, and yes, there's people are having fears and things come up, but there's like the community and the support, I think is just really, really beautiful. So yeah, Haleigh, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been great to just connect with you in this way and just hear more about your journey. I know it's going to inspire others.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you allowing me to share it.